Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Crankshaft Hammerfist, and today we're going to be doing the house of somebody who desperately needs it. And hopefully I don't have background noise coming in because my wife is power washing the deck, as one does. But if it does come through, you're just going to have to suck it. So this is one of the dirtiest houses that I've seen, but it's not filthy. It's not like rotting food. There's not like a ton of hoarded clutter or anything like that. This house is a combination of a few things. One, they live out by fields, so it gets super dusty. Two, the guy is a mechanic and he works around an absolute ton of dirt all day. Three, there's ADHD in the house. And four, they have three pretty good-sized dogs that are inside-outside dogs, so they drag in a bunch of dirt quite a bit. Oh, and they're also doing some remodeling and tear-outs, and so that is also causing just a massive amount of dirt on top of the pet hair. So what we're going to be doing is a lot of almost like janitorial type of cleanup. And as you can see from the house, like all the surfaces are covered in a lot of dust. So we're going to be doing like a lot of Swiffering the dust off of things and then using a rag to clean, but you'll see that when we get to it. So the very first thing I'm going to do is take apart the top of the stove and just absolutely saturate that with oven cleaner. There was a lot of like burn on food and just plain old everyday dirt. And so I want that to sit for quite a while. So I'm going to let that sit while I concentrate on the rest of the kitchen, mainly the countertops. And there's a bunch of clutter here. So the best thing to do if you have ADHD or you're easily overwhelmed by heavy clutter is to pick a section of the counter and just clear things off of it. I don't care where you put it. You can put it on the floor if you want. Just find another place for that stuff, and the act of moving it kickstarts your brain into work mode. So once all that stuff is off, then I can spray it down with Mr. Clean and let that set for about a minute or so, and then wipe it down. In this case, the minute was about 5 seconds because I'm impatient. It's pretty amazing how fast all this dirt came off of the cabinet doors. A lot of that dirt isn't like grease splatters or anything. It's where the dogs have rubbed up against the cabinets. Then I'm going to take a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and take all the stains off of the countertop. Then one at a time, I can start taking the things that go back on the countertop and cleaning them down, because since they're passing through my hands again, that gives me the opportunity to clean each individual item. It also gives me an opportunity to declutter. Now that the stove is set for a while, or the oven cleaner is set for a while on the stove, I'm going to take just paper towels and clean the majority of that off, basically just scraping it off and snow shoveling it. I showed my hand there because I'm not wearing gloves, and I don't suggest anybody do this without gloves, but I've been doing it so long that I can do it without getting this stuff on my hands, so I kind of showed that my hands weren't covered in stove crunch. Then once I get all that residue off, I'm just going to spray that down with Mr. Clean, let it set for a second, and then wipe it all down and clean it like normal. In the meantime, while that's setting, I'm going to take all the little extra add-ons to the stove, like the knobs and the little burner covers and things like that, and I'm going to wash those down, and that way it gives them a few minutes to drip dry before I put them back on. Now, while those are soaking, we're going to go back to the stove and clean it right in the face because it deserves it. Stove talks smack to me, and it's getting some Mr. Clean. Now we're just going to repeat that same process over basically the entire kitchen. We're going to clean it down with Mr. Clean first to get all the residue off. Then we'll use a magic eraser to remove stains. This is one of my favorite parts, is right below the sink. That's where you can tell the dogs have basically been mud finger painting there for a while. That was so thick that I had to actually clean this twice. Now I'll just go over the stove with my APC. For new viewers, that stands for all-purpose cleaner. It's 70% alcohol, 30% water, and 5 or 6 drops of Dawn dish soap. Once you wipe that down with a microfiber rag, then you just go over it with an ultra-fine microfiber cloth, and that polishes it and gets rid of the streaks. An alternate method would be to spin kick the stove and then all the streaks just fly off like a streak geyser. But I don't want to do that here because the last house that I did that in, the kitchen exploded. Now, I don't mind doing that to kitchens every once in a while because some of them do deserve it, but I really wasn't in the mood for a foot explosion today. So I just used my APC instead. Now this is actually the second time these are being washed because they had a lot of, it wasn't really burnt on food, it was just a ton of dirt, and I wanted to make sure that those were really clean before I put them back on. I also let those drip dry on the counter for about 5 or 10 minutes before I put them on so I wouldn't have like water running down on the clean stove. There's also that little middle cover there has a bunch of stuff on the end of it that's either paint or fingernail polish. I could probably get it off with a razor scraper, but I didn't bother. This can show you how dirty the house was as far as like the actual dust and dirt that accumulated. That's a knife holder, and you could almost plant corn in that sucker. So I did this with every single thing that was on the counter. I took everything up, cleaned it all individually, and then put it back. That's how I roll, son. He calls me Clean Counter Stuff Johnny back in Denver. Yo, man, is that Clean Countertop Johnny? Like, yo, man, I heard he cleans everything on a counter. Well, you heard right. That's what I do. It's what I do. I used Barkeeper's Friend on the sink, and that comes directly from viewers. I used to use Comet, and I liked it a lot. And then people turned me on to Barkeeper's Friend, and it just does so much better job on pretty much every sink you can imagine. This is a stainless steel one, and it looked really bad before I started. I just use a scouring pad, some Barkeeper's Friend, and then follow that up with my APC and ultrafine microfiber combination, and it looks like brand new. That's all me, son. I didn't take that as a suggestion from any viewer. I just told myself, you should try some Barkeeper's Friend, me. And then I was like, thank you. I will do that every time. I don't know why I talked like that, but I did at the time, and it helped me remember. Now this section was really cluttered, and here's kind of the hard part of doing places like this. Everything that was up here is used, meaning it's like used every day. I don't mean that it's not new anymore, which I guess it isn't, but it has a use, and it has a function and a purpose. And there's not a lot of shelving in this house, and there's not a lot of empty spaces to hide things away. So when I put this stuff back, it's gonna be cluttered. It just has to be sort of organized clutter. I have to find some sort of symmetry in order to put this stuff back and not make it look like it's all piled up on top of each other. But again, taking this stuff away from the countertop and clearing it entirely gives you a chance to look at the counter with new eyes. So as I'm putting this stuff back, you'll notice that I'm trying to keep things, the big things, off the top of the microwave and put it in a way to where when you enter that door that's on the left, you don't see all the stuff like the big baskets of medication and stuff like that. They're hidden behind the microwave. Then anything that I put on top of the microwave will be smaller items that look less cluttered. And then as I put more stuff back on the counter, I'm kind of looking at the symmetry and noticing how much it's all kind of crunched together, and I'll move things around to kind of alleviate that as best I can. Those potatoes and apples were making me so mad and so frustrated because there was no place to put them, and so I just had to end up putting them back in that section. I tried several times to find somewhere else to get those out of sight, out of mind, but I just couldn't. So I was going to split this into 2 videos because the goal for me is to do 2 videos per week. And the original intent was to do this part of the video that you're seeing now on the regular weekend spot and then do part 2 on, say, like Tuesday. But here's the problem. I refuse to split up videos just for the sake of splitting them up in order to get more content. So if a video is better as a single video, that's what I'm going to do. And this is one of those cases where I had 2 videos. One of them was 29 minutes and the other one was like 28 minutes. And they had the length that I wanted. Shut up, Beavis. But really, as 2 separate entities, they weren't what I'd consider to be standalone videos. They were just way, way better as a single video. So I'd much rather have a longer video that has better quality and has like a sense of closure than to split them up, just like I said, for the sake of having extra content. So the goal is still to have 2 videos per week, but not with this one. This one, you're going to get the whole shebang. So this one is probably going to be about 45 minutes long, but I'm happier with it, and that's all that counts. My happiness. So now that I've got the counters cleared off, I'm going to take all of my stuff, and that's where my stuff's going to go as a station. So those clean countertops are cleared off enough to where I can set up my workstation there and get it off the floor. Then I can start concentrating on small things like cleaning the washer. Then we're going to move to the floor and get it swept and mopped. And then we can move on to the hallway we're going to move on to the dining room, then a hallway, then a bathroom. If you're wondering what all that dirt is all over my hoodie, I cleaned the ceiling fans, but I didn't film it because I just forgot, because that's also how I roll, old and forgetful. But the ceiling fans were so bad that I got that dust and like big clumps of hair and stuff all over me. And it's even on there even after I like brushed myself off for about 4.5 hours. I spent brushing myself off because time really doesn't mean much to me. That's why they call me Time Lord Becky back in Greenville. Oh, Becky Time Lord is what they say. Lord of Time. People are like, yo man, is she the Duke of Time? They're like, no, she's not the Duke of Time. She's a lord. On the floor, this is where we're going to do what I call a dirty mop. I squeeze water out and wring water out all over the floor. It's a combination of water and Lysol mop juice. And I'm just kind of spreading that all around to let it soak for a bit. And then I stepped out and took a break for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to come back with a dryer mop and mop all this stuff up again because the floor was so stained up and was so dirty that it needed time to soften. Then after I'm done with this, I'm going to mop it just like I would a regular floor. I call it dirty mopping at first because it's not really meant to clean. It's meant to saturate. So the floor ends up being dirtier or looking dirtier while I'm mopping than it did even before I mopped. There we go. Now we'll just go over the floor like normal. Any of the extra stuff that needs swept up that I missed, I'll just use the mop to pull it along with me and then pick that up afterwards. When the floor dries again, I'll re-sweep it one last time. So you can see there was a tiny bit of dog hair and a leaf. That'll all get swept up later. Now we're going to move into the dining room, and this thing was just absolutely covered in dirt. So before I do any wipe downs, I'm going to use my Swiffer and get all the main dirt off. That way I'm not like basically turning my rag into a wet sander. Now this looks like I'm using Mr. Clean, but I actually ran out of Mr. Clean, so I filled the bottle with about a teaspoon of Dawn dish soap and water. It's not as good as Mr. Clean, but it's the next best thing. If you're ever in a pinch, just use about a teaspoon of dish soap and water, put it in a spray bottle, and you're good to go. I don't know what all these things are, but they looked cool and they looked good, and it took everything I had to not just squirt a little bit of that into my mouth hole. Just do a shot right out of the bottle tube thing. Since this was empty, this made a perfect place to put all the extra stuff that I found, just to get it off of the desk and the cabinets and stuff like that. neat little coffee bar over here. Again, they're still kind of putting the house together and doing some demo and doing some rebuilding and stuff, but I like that they've got this little coffee bar over to the side. It's hard to wash because there's a whole bunch of stuff on top of it, so about the only thing you can do is move things out of the way, wipe down the countertop, and then put the implements of coffee destruction back over the top of them. But that also gives me an excuse to clean the coffee makers and stuff like that themselves, because again, they're passing through my hands. So it's like, as long as they're there, I might as well wipe them down. I need to remember to move my camera at a more shallow angle so that I'm not just filming 90% my back and 10% the thing that's not my back. Man, check out how dirty this desk is. That is a ton of dirt. I was going to use that yoga mat just to show off my yoga skills, but sometimes I yoga so hard that I set mats on fire just from the friction of my yoga. So I just rolled it up and put it on the seat instead. It seemed to be the safest bet. I realize the tree's still up, but that tree is super sweet. I personally would not even take it down. We still have Christmas lights up in our living room because they're just white lights, and we actually use that as our main light source in the living room. So I'm a fan of leaving stuff like that up if it's something that makes you happy. Like, do it. It's fine. Now this floor is not real wood. It's like that vinyl type stuff. So I'm just mopping this with Lysol. Whenever we do the living room and the bedroom, at least I can't remember if the bedroom is real wood or not. I think it is. But the living room especially is going to get Murphy soap because it's just a little bit better on wood. Wood. Yeah, wood's pretty cool. Settle down, Beavis. If I want any wood out of you, I'd smack it off your lip. Shut up, butthead. This sink in real life is way dirtier than what the camera shows it as. I think it's just the lighting makes it look cleaner than it actually was, but I'm just going to use that Dawn mixture I talked about earlier and spray it down, wait a few seconds, and then wipe it off. So if you're cleaning a sink like this that hasn't been cleaned in a while, you'll notice as you scrub it down, you'll get these little balls of dust that stick everywhere. Wiping it down with any dry cloth at all will get rid of that dust after you've already cleaned it. I also, as I was spraying this mirror, I thought that that was a glass cabinet on the left, and so I sprayed all their stuff down with my APC because I'm an idiot. I did clean the toilet and all the extra little shelving and stuff in here, but it was kind of boring. The toilet was already pretty much clean. It just had a little bit of dirt to wipe off, so I just cut it out of there. Plus, as you can see, this bathroom's pretty small. I can reach across the whole thing with my mop without stepping in the room, so getting a camera in there was pretty difficult. Now we're on to day 2, and the only thing I got to do here is this bedroom and the living room floor. We'll get to the living room here in a minute because there's something kind of odd I had to do with it. There are 2 spare bedrooms in this house, and I was going to do those too, but they've just got kind of random junk thrown into them for the time being, and there wasn't a lot I could do to them. If I come back to this house to do some follow-up cleaning, I'm going to get both those rooms done. I'll just take everything out, wash the room itself down, vacuum it, and then put everything back into it. But right now, there wasn't a lot I could do. Now we're going to use the same style of cleaning here that we used in the kitchen. We're going to go to the cluttered areas, take everything off of the surfaces, clean the surface, and then basically reorganize and put everything back. Now this was also another one of those areas where everything that was on top of this is actually useful and has a purpose. So trying to put everything back in a way that didn't look cluttered is really difficult. So I just did the best I could. There just wasn't any place to put the rest of this stuff. But it's kind of a housekeeper's trick, really. If you can put things back in some sort of symmetrical order, it'll look less cluttered. Just the symmetry by itself tricks your brain into thinking that it's less cluttered than it actually is. Here's the other shoe pile, and also mostly my back. But trust me, on the other side of that back, on the front side of my back, there's a bunch of shoes there. But same thing here, even on the floor. We're going to pull everything out, clean the floor, and then we can figure out a way to put things back that are just kind of hidden from sight. Like your mom's dignity. Hi-oh! Now this is definitely the dude side of the bed because there was a bunch of tools and stuff here. But again, everything that's up there you can tell had been placed there for a reason. So I'm not going to try to find another area to hide those away because I guarantee he'd go to look for those things and they'd be gone, and then it would become just an absolute pain to try to track them down. So you can see how much of this stuff is filling up this nightstand, but at least it's clean and at least the piles are a little bit straighter than they were. For those who don't know, I have a members only section, and to access that, you look for a join button that's on my main channel page. If you don't see a join button, it probably means that you're on an Apple product, and I recently figured out that the reason they do that is it's like an Apple policy where you can't really go to any kind of app that charges you money without first asking Steve Jobs himself. I have no idea what the reasoning is behind it, but the join button doesn't show up if you use the YouTube app on an Apple device. However, if you go there on just the regular everyday browser, if you go to YouTube on the browser and then navigate to my channel, I think that's how a lot of Apple users have gotten to the join button. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning it is because the first half of this video before I got into the bedroom, there's a full hour and 50-minute long video that's not sped up and there's no narration. It's just me cleaning in sort of like an ASMR style. But I give extra videos every week, every Wednesday for members only, and then they get a few posts here and there that aren't available to the public. But as we increase content, I'm also increasing content for the members only too. So if you like extra stuff and you like to support the channel in more than just subscribing and watching the videos, which genuinely that's all I need. Just watch the videos, subscribe, and all that stuff. That's plenty for me. But if you wanted to help support it in another monetary way, that's a way you can do it. It's like $4.99 a month. I don't use Patreon. I don't use GoFundMe's and stuff like that. I pay for all the gas to and from these places. I pay for all the supplies, the chemicals, the Swiffer dusters. I do all that out of pocket. And I can afford it. Don't worry about me if you can't afford to do the subscription thing. Don't do that, please. But I'm just letting you know it's there. If you want extra content and me being stupid and just goofing off with a camera, that's a place where you can see stuff like that. And if you don't, you can just continue to be a devil worshiper because that's what devil worshipers do. They don't subscribe and they don't become a member. Hey, that's your life, man. You live the way you want. I'm not going to tell you any different. Heathen. So in the living room, I'm just going through with a Swiffer duster, not necessarily to actually dust. I'm knocking off all the dirt that was on the surfaces, windowsills, window frames, and stuff like that onto the floor. You can see that stuff shooting off like a big old filth geyser. And that's just regular everyday dirt that's built up over time. So I'm just knocking that all off and getting the dust off the surfaces so that on the few things that I do wipe down in here, it's not all gritty and gross feeling. Now, the big difference between this room and all the other rooms that I've cleaned is I'm mainly just worried about the floor here. As you can see, this is one of the rooms where they're doing tear outs and remodeling. And on his desk, there's a bunch of stuff that you can tell he uses and is put in different places on purpose. So I'm not touching his desk. I'm not like moving around the woodwork stuff that he's got going on. All I'm doing is cleaning the floor, and I think I end up cleaning that little glass TV stand that's center left at the top of your screen. Once they get this all fully remodeled and put back together and all that, then I will offer a service where I can come in here and just for free video me cleaning up all the remnants. Now this one felt especially good to me to get done, even if it wasn't on video, because both of these people work their butts off. One is a mechanic, and I've known a lot of mechanics in my life. Like, I grew up around mechanics. Like so many that I could say most of my friends were mechanics. And the woman of the house she's the head of nursing in some capacity, and I can't remember her exact title. I just looked at it on Facebook, but I know she goes non-stop. So by the time these people get home, they're so exhausted. And they look around this house, and I know exactly what's going through their mind. They're looking around, and they're like, where do we even start? I cannot get up and start this. Like, my brain cannot process this. You just want to unwind. You want to get a bath. You want to sit down and eat, and then not move until bedtime. I've been in that position. I totally understand it. So this one felt good, knowing that I could do a service for two people who are hardworking, who are in the process of trying to remodel and have just gotten so far behind that they don't know where to start. This gives them kind of a clean slate. It's not a totally clean slate, but it gives them a clean enough slate to where now on the weekends or whatever, they can get up and do regular cleaning, and it's not going to feel like this overwhelming monumental task. Now it's just a case of sweeping and mopping and wiping down some countertops. No big deal. There's some more stuff that I wanted to do, and I may end up offering my services again at some point because I want to do all the windows, and I want to get up on a step ladder and clean the ceiling fans by hand, because even though I Swiffered them, it wasn't like it needed Mr. Clean, and it needed to be actually wiped down. And I want to be able to pull off like the little light cover things and bleach those and get those clean again, because they all need it pretty badly. But I think for what we did, I think this turned out pretty good. By the way, this floor was so dirty that after I let it dry, I had to both sweep and mop it again, because the dirt had settled into all the cracks. All the dog hair just kind of floats when you try to sweep it. So I treated it like I was just cleaning it from scratch after it dried. And you can see as I'm sweeping this thing down, there's still just an absolute ton of stuff left on the floor. There was so much dust and dog hair that I genuinely had enough time, would have gone to Menards and bought an industrial air cleaner and just as a surprise put it in the corner of the room for them, because this one really could use it. But look at the difference on that floor. Once I swept it and mopped it for the second time, that is absolutely insane. Anyway, this one's winding down. Like I said, the membership is totally optional. Don't feel like you need to do that by any means. But while you're here, if you could subscribe, that would be cool. Because we have our silver plaque already. We got that at 100,000 subscribers. And I think that we're growing at a rate to where I think we can actually reach 1 million at some point. And at 1 million, that's when you get your gold plaque. And then everybody's going to have to suck it. Anyway, thanks for watching. For members, I will see you on Wednesday. For everyone else, I will see you on the following weekend. Thanks so much and have a great week. Later.